Hello and welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson, but he is the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Monday, May 12th. The Yankees have won 2 straight series, Joel, against the Padres and the A's since the last time we spoke. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the insane year Aaron Judge continues to be on a tear. We'll talk about Ben Rice, maybe some Jasson Dominguez, and about the starting rotation. Before we get to any of that, Joel, I got to ask you as always, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm at a little bit of a deficit just because the last 2 days, Saturday I had to pick up one son at college, Sunday I had to pick up my other son at college. So I have not watched a lot of Yankee baseball over the weekend. Hopefully I played catch up well enough. But as always, I appreciate being here.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you as always for giving us some time. And, I want to start off with first pitch, Joel. The Yankees, they beat up on I would say, a pretty below average A's team this weekend, but it was a very impressive series win against the Padres earlier last week. So for you, are you taking more out of the Padres series? The Yankees offense exploded over the weekend versus the A's. I don't know if I can read as much into that because it was the A's, but it still is nice to see how well they are beating up on the bad teams.
Yeah, the A's had actually been playing well. Better than probably anticipated going into this. It's hard to contain the Yank. I think one of the things the Yankees are showing is if you don't throw a pretty good pitcher at them, their power is going to play. And that obviously starts with the best player in the sport in Judge, but they're getting a lot of power. Even guys who don't have, say, great averages are bringing power to the party. And, it's the shortest way to score runs and multiple runs. So they've done that. What do we take out? Like if I were looking at the week, is this a Dominguez breakout week? Is this a Will Warren breakout week where because you're looking for length of quality from the Yankees. I think we know they're going to be good to pretty good. To get to the next level, look, they've played a quarter of the season. I don't think Aaron Judge is the MVP of the sport. He's certainly the MVP of the AL. Max Fried might be the Cy Young a quarter of the way into the season. It's him or Hunter Brown, but I mean, he's certainly, a couple of other starters, but he'd be in the conversation. So, like, at the top of your payroll and the top of your roster, you've spent well and are getting great stuff, and it's easier to flow from under that. Rodon has stepped up nicely as kind of a number 2 starter, though I think in an ideal world, he'd be a number 3 starter or a number 4 starter. But this is the world they're living in. You don't get what you want, you get what is. And so I just think they need length of quality in a lot of places. Does DJ LeMahieu come back in the next few days and make the 13-man unit? Again, like I think the great DJ LeMahieu's out the window. Mm-hmm. That guy's not coming back. But can he be better than the bottom of their positional group to make the whole group better?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we'll get into this, and I always find it funny, and I'm sorry I'm rambling here.
It's okay.
But like when people say, what is Ben Rice going to do if and when Stanton comes back? And I see the look on your face because Yankee fans aren't happy unless they're miserable. The answer to that question, Ryan, is he's going to play and play a lot. Nobody hits in the major leagues and doesn't play, right? And so there's so much that has to happen between now and whenever that is. Stanton actually has to come back.
Right.
Right? Rice has to stay hot enough that you'd want him to play regularly. Paul Goldschmidt has to stay healthy, right? If he doesn't, you just put Rice at first. Austin Wells and Ascara have to stay healthy. Otherwise, Rice becomes a catcher in that group. And if the worst thing in the world, and it's really the best thing in the world, is everyone is healthy, in any close game late, they're going to pinch hit for at least their third baseman and maybe other things. And if you're sitting with Stanton and or Rice on the bench that day, it improves your lot. Rice will play a lot. They should be blessed that they have to actually make this decision. It feels to me like the Stroman thing we talked about months ago. He's the 6th starter. When's he going to pitch? And I said, yeah, it will take care of itself. And I feel like things take care of themselves. The great news for the Yankees is Ben Rice looks real.
Yeah.
And if he's real, nobody in the major leagues, especially at a time where it's tough to hit, who can hit, stops playing.
And with Rice, I wanted to ask you a couple things about him there. One, is there a hitter that he reminds you of that you've covered in baseball and in your time? There's someone I have in mind, but maybe it's a crazy comparison. But I would like to know if there's
Go
someone that
ahead.
you have.
Good. Tell me who your comparison is.
It's not the swing type, but just the power, Joel, and how hard he swings. It reminds me of Jasson Giambi a little bit about how hard he hits the ball out of the ballpark from the left side of the plate. That's kind of where I get from. He's not the same build and he's not the same swing, but that's just something like I saw a little bit.
Yeah, well, where do they sign up for that?
Right.
If they're able to do that, Giambi obviously has a tortured history because of his ties to steroids and ultimately a bad ending with the Yankees. But great hitting eye, and I think Ben Rice has a pretty good one. He doesn't have Jasson Giambi's, but it's a good hitting eye. He swings at strikes, and when he hits it hard. And if you found this in what was it like round 12 or 13 of a draft, a guy who's going to be some version of Giambi or Kyle Schwarber or whatever it is exactly he's on the way to being. Uh, and a guy who doesn't lack for self-confidence, and I bet you thinks, well, okay, Goldschmidt will play first base for a year, then I'm going to play first base. Or that kid still thinks he could be a starting catcher. I know it. I've talked to him about it. So I don't think he's fake confident. I think he's very real confident. And like that's the kind of stuff they are getting. Ryan, I thought about something. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were. We talked a lot about before the season started. They needed a certain baseline from like Dominguez, Wells, Volpe, Rice. And so far, they've gotten a lot of health, right? Knock on wood if you're a Yankee fan.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of health from those four, and a lot of production from those four guys. And that's how they have Judge. But it's Judge and a good group. There's no Soto. The idea was to cover for Soto, you needed good group work. And in general, they're getting good group work. And with a lot of people contributing, and one real hole, which is third base. And the question is, over the next, say, 4 weeks, does any of that get solved with I'm assuming when LeMahieu comes back, I think he's going to start at second base. But like when Jazz comes back, if LeMahieu's playing well, and again, I bring this up, I think it's 10 or 15% that he stays healthy and plays well. But can he perform better than Oswaldo Cabrera? If he does, again, you raise the floor. And I think they have some internal ways to raise the floor of the 13-man group before you get to July. And I think anything they could do with the positional group to improve it is ultra vital because they're going to have to trade for a starting pitcher, at least one in July. And therefore, anything they're doing that's internal that they don't have to use money or prospect chips to get other stuff will be valuable because they've got to go. They could win now. You can't waste the Judge season, right? You can't waste the Fried season. Even though with Cole out, you're at some deficit. You got to go for it. And that means whoever the best starting pitcher is in mid-July when it really, really opens up, Yankees got to be front and center, sitting there with good prospects and an open mind and go get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be like you said, the next 4 weeks with LeMahieu coming back. How does he play? How does he factor? But it's still what the baseline is for what they need on this trade deadline. It's starting pitching. When Ryan Yarbrough's given you is very, very awesome, and it's nice. And they have
like a little Cody Petit moment from last year,
yep.
right? Where Cody Petit made 3 or 4 starts, and it was like, wow, that guy really filled in like the grout of a season where you need somebody to step up, and like they're gonna need it for a while, right? Stroman ain't coming back
No.
for a while. He'll still no less than a month away from returning, so they're gonna need this, like Will Warren to be competent, and Ryan. I think their offense is good enough, and their bullpen is good enough that if you're a competent number 4 and 5 starter, 4 runs or less, 5 innings or more. Like not great stuff, just competent. I think the offense, is always a Judge swing or a Goldschmidt or a Bellinger or, like they really do get a lot of power 1 through 9. And they're one swing away from being in a game if the starting pitcher just brings competence to it.
Totally agree, Joel. And I want to go back to Rice here real quick because do you think that this would play out? You've told me before about injuries work their way, guy goes down and another guy comes up. So let's say Stanton comes back in June, right? That seems to be somewhere around the time we think that he'll make his return. Do they find a way to put Ben Rice 2 games at first, 2 games maybe at DH, 2 games as a maybe a game at backup or as a catcher? I don't know. Like how do you sense they work that? Because like you said, he's such a valuable bat right now for them in that lineup, specifically against right-handed pitching. He could do some real damage for you.
Yeah, I think you got the formula, but I don't think you fret the formula until everybody shows up healthy on the day Stanton returns. You want this problem, Ryan. We know they're never going to have this problem, right? Like there's you've got to be blessed to have the problem. This is the exact conversation we were having when Marcus Stroman defiantly in late February said, I'm a starting pitcher. And the Yankees had 6 starters, and it was like, how's Stroman going to be used? What are they going to do? And it's like, and I think I said then, these things solve themselves. And if you have to solve them, that's the good news, not the bad news. And the way you solve it is Paul Goldschmidt's what, 37, 38. Ben Rice plays twice a week against particularly tough right. Like we're seeing, Goldschmidt has remained an elite bat against lefties.
Yes.
Elite. He's been good against righties, elite against lefties. So against a couple of tough righties in the heart of the summer, you want to back off Paul Goldschmidt? You can. You want to, Stanton's not going to play every day. Again, against a couple of tough righties, maybe Rice is that. That's 4 of the 6 games already. And we saw it. The Yankees won a game against the Padres because JC Escarra was sitting there to hit in a situation. That is going to be Ben Rice sometimes now if everyone was healthy. Or Stanton. Like you really create problems for the opposing team. The Yankees, one of their problems this year is they don't have a very good bench. It's been Pablo Reyes, it's been Peraza, it's been that kind of guy. And I think we also agree that Cabrera is probably best as a bench guy, but he's been forced into the role of starter. And I think that's all probably, I really think it's going to be very, very difficult for the Yankees to solve third base externally. I encourage all Yankee fans, you deal in the world that is, right? Go look at the third baseman in the major leagues. It's not a deep position. It is not a deep position. And so, unless you're willing to take on Arenado's contract in 26 and 27, which the Yankees have so far shown they don't want to do, right? It's not, would Arizona trade Eugenio Suarez? Now, I think they're bringing up their top infield prospect, Jordan Lawler, in either today, tomorrow, sometime this week. They obviously have Marte, Ketel Marte at second, Perdomo at short. Is Lawler going to play a little third base? Is he going to move? So, is it possible Suarez? But, Suarez is a low batting average, high strikeout guy who hasn't defended well this year. It is sit in the universe of the other 29 teams. You start eliminating, right? Boston's not trading Alex Bregman. This team isn't trading. Now get to the ones you think could move. Do you want to take on Ke'Bryan Hayes' contract through 28, 29, whenever that is, for a guy who hasn't hit? I think there is a potential for a Scott Brocious in Ke'Bryan Hayes, which is, I think he's playing on a bad team, and I think he has skills. What if you put him on a team and said, field the crap out of the ball, which he always does, and hit ninth? And there's no expectations. You're not the golden boy you were in Pittsburgh. You just have to do this. Would you get something? I don't. The combination of bad performance and some health issues would make me not do that if I were the Yankees or any team. But I think that Ke'Bryan Hayes is stuck in a bad situation, and I wonder what that might look like. But now look at how we're reaching. Eugenio Suarez not hitting for batting average or fielding like he used to.
He has the power. That's about it.
Yeah. So I think they really need LeMahieu to be league average, 5% below league average, and a tough at bat hitting ninth and playing 3 or 4 days a week. And that would really help them.
Would you think that
Like I think about that 13. You've got Judge, and so then the next 12 guys, can you get it? And when you're at the ballpark, Ryan, one of the things I do all the time is I'm always playing the game along with both managers. And I'm like, well, they could bring in this lefty reliever. There's no punishment for it because the guy on the bench is Pablo Reyes. But if the guy on the bench is Giancarlo Stanton, or you say, we're going to bring in the righty, and the guy on the bench is Ben Rice, you have changed that 13-man unit and how the other team manages against it.
Yeah, it goes to what you have tried to tell me and tell me, Ryan, don't worry about the lineup right now. Don't worry about third base as much. Worry about the rotation more. And I think you're hitting on all the parts right there. They have help coming. If LeMahieu comes back and stays healthy, right? Just stay healthy and be a league average player if possible. And Stanton, just stay healthy because when he is healthy, he can be a real force in that lineup for this Yankees lineup. And I
And
think
they're stressful pitches.
yeah.
Like even when Stanton is struggling, and we see those 10-day, 2-week periods, there's no pitcher that's out there going, oh, Stanton's struggling. I'll just throw this. He wears down another team. And when he's going great, he's like Judge for 2 weeks. And now think about that in the middle of your lineup. It's look, I would not look at it as a problem.
No.
And I know, I've already seen it. I've seen the like, what's they better play Rice. Nobody hits in the major leagues and doesn't play. You find a way to get their bat in, and there'll be plenty. And look, that might be what you said, which is 2 days at first base, 2 days at DH. If everyone's healthy, do you think everyone will still be healthy 2 weeks later? By the way, do you think Ben Rice will still be hitting this way? Like, again, you hope these are all problems. We have not seen Ben Rice hit for 162 games. I think what he's throwing down, because he swings at his pitch and he hits the ball hard, suggests he's a good major league hitter, better than a good major league hitter. But, you got to see it for an extended period. There's so many things that will answer itself, Ryan. The one that they can't answer themselves, the two that can't answer themselves easily is third base and rotation depth.
Yeah.
That is those are toughies for them. I would not worry about anything else. That all will solve itself.
Yeah, Ben Rice is second on the team right now behind Aaron Judge for WRC plus. That is one of they're actually the Yankees have 7 out of 8 qualified hitters are above league average in WRC plus. Like their lineup is doing a lot of damage right now, Joel, and we're seeing it in huge fashion. Like they did, they had a monster inning against the Padres. They had monster innings against the A's multiple times. It's really a lot of fun to watch this offense when it can really explode like it has and hits for power and gets on base. The other thing we should talk.
Can I throw in one proviso there? I still think you shouldn't pitch to Judge. But when the whole lineup is percolating, it makes it much tougher to not pitch to Judge and just put him on first base. I would still do it. At this point, a lefty who is throwing a pitch near the plate to Aaron Judge, if he does not have to, is making a mistake. Do you know Judge has 25 at-bats against lefties this year and 6 homers? I think he's only made out like 7 times against the lefty. It's like some crazy. His over a 600 on base percentage against lefties. And by the way, he's got like a 1,200 against. I'm not like saying, the thing you could do is unplug him with a righty. But I am watching lefties without high-end stuff, and you just put up 4 fingers. Take your shot at anything else in the lineup.
Yeah, it was. There's a couple pitches mistakes of the A's. They're throwing meatballs down the middle, and Judge is just crushing them to center field, like the batter's eye. He had an incredible weekend in Sacramento. He just continues to hit with a force. The other guy I wanted to talk about real quick, Joel, is Jasson Dominguez. Has the 3-homer game Friday night against the A's. We talked a lot about him last week and how we were concerned about him in left field, and like he doesn't look like he belongs out there, but put the defense, I guess, aside for a little bit, even though I know we like to focus on it here. The offensive side of it, that was a little bit like the Martian. That was the guy that we were talking about and hyped up as a prospect. It's pretty special out there. He's like a 5-tool player when he puts it all together.
Yeah, I'm real encouraging that one of them was from the right side, right, in that thing. And I think the at-bats from the right side have been a little better of late, not beyond the homer, long at bats, hitting the ball a little harder from that side, which is encouraging. I would remember that Ben Rice had a 3-homer game last year and then fell apart, right? Like the numbers kind of like cratered after his 3-homer game. So, his, I think that WRC number is inflated for like Dominguez by one game in particular, a 3-homer game. Would it be over league average if he, just had a single and 3 at bats with a walk that day, which is a nice offensive day, but isn't? So, this is why it's always about what makes Judge remarkable or makes Ohtani remarkable or the great hitters. This is why they get paid what they get paid is they're just good all the time. And we don't know this yet about Rice or Wells or Dominguez or even to some extent Volpe, who's again in one of these periods, you just see the differences. Like Volpe's hitting what, like about 235?
Yeah.
Great.
I know.
Like it's a different player when it's 235 than when it's 200. It's still kind of like right at the league average or below the league average, but because he does other things, he defends, he runs, he can hit for a little power, he's not an afraid player. Like 235 really plays. It's just like, can he never fall? Can the bad moments become moments instead of weeks? And weeks plural, where he looks so lost. And you're like, wow, this went from a slump to a death slide so quickly. And I think that's a thing. So you always keep your eye on young players, even when they're performing well. Dominguez has a lot of talent, a lot of talent. He has at least 2020 talent, you know? So does Volpe
Yeah.
have 2020 talent. Will it play over 162 games? I do think there are freak injuries, right? Aaron Judge runs into a wall in Los Angeles a couple of years ago and fractures a toe. That's a freak injury, right? Like sometimes. But I do think that durability is a tool where you get on the field. And, for those who believe in, like, jinx it, like, the Yankee positional group has been very, Jazz Chisholm, if I would have said to you on March 20th, before the season begins, the Yankees will only have one significant injury to their positional core, non-Judge, because you're not signing up for anything if it's Judge. One significant injury, and even that injury is going to be like 2 months. It's not going to be a season ender kind of thing. You go, yeah, I'd take that every quarter, right? Like where it's only one guy, and in general you're keeping the group intact. This was their success of their starting pitching last year. They generally, like even with Cole out for 2.5 months, 6 guys made 153 starts. The 6 guys you wanted to make the starts made the starts. They're getting their positional group is really getting a lot of at-bats. And to the point where we are now closer to decision times, right? LeMahieu's back. What, like probably this week at some point, I would think. What does that mean? Stanton might be back in 3 weeks. What does that mean? That it's only an issue because the other guys have stayed healthy and productive.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm asking you about I asked you about the Rice thing, and now I'm asking you about Dominguez because you're getting a lot of great performance out of Trent Grisham. How does that affect now? Because of a full healthy squad, you have Judge, Grisham, and Bellinger in left because you can't take Grisham back out of the lineup until he stops hitting, which Joel, he doesn't stop hitting, and he doesn't stop producing for this lineup.
Look, will come up a lot, I think, in the next 4 or 5 days with the Subway Series next weekend. If Trent Grisham is going to be about an 80 to 85% replica of Juan Soto offensively, like, we're going to remember it a little bit as the Soto Grisham trade then, and not just the Soto, because so much of what we did in the offseason whenever we did shows, Ryan, was how do they replace Soto? And the answer has been exactly what they hoped. This has been exactly what they hoped, which is, hey, we just lost the heavyweight. How do you do that? I don't know. You get 6 welterweights to punch above their grade. And you're like, suddenly it's a heavyweight. And the length of their lineup is much better this year than last year, and I think makes them a tougher. It's crazy to say you lose Juan Soto and you're a better offense because Soto is such a great, scary hitter. But if your whole offense is Soto and Judge, this is a better version of it. A better version. This is a version that could beat you in more. Like last year, it felt like, oh, Judge and Soto are going to bat in the first, the third, the sixth, and the eighth.
Yeah.
If the Yankees don't score in those 4 innings, they're probably not scoring today. And I think this lineup, with as great as Judge has been, and it's a Hall of Fame player at his peak, which is stunning, they could score in any inning. They could score. There was a Judge had one of his offers. Was it against San Diego?
Against San Diego. I know what you're going to talk
And
about.
they won the game.
They won the game because Trent Grisham.
Right. And like that just didn't. If Judge and Stanton didn't perform last year, the Yankees didn't score enough to win, or they were going to have to win a 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 game.
Yes.
This group can produce runs in non-Judge innings. And then the good news for the Yankees is, by the way, there's not like the Judge innings are as great as they've ever been.
And it's insane. He's back up to 400 now after going, 4 for 5 yesterday. And he doesn't do it with any power yesterday. Just a couple singles, a double. Like, he just does it all over the field, Joel. But, again, like you said, the Trent Grisham thing, if you get 80 to 85% of Juan Soto out of Trent Grisham, oh, man. And he still plays a hell of a center field.
Like, if we would have told you before the season, Trent Grisham's going to bat 400 times this year, play above average center field defense, and the effect is a 2.5 to 3 WAR player. You would sign up for that. He's trending above that.
Yeah.
He's trending above that. And I would say history suggests that this is not who he is. But you play this, I hate to be this way. You play the season that is, not the one that you imagine. In the season that is, Trent Grisham is what they dreamed Cody Bellinger would be.
That's what's crazy.
Right? And so does Bellinger lose playing time as it goes along? I still think Bellinger brings something to the team, and I think there's more to Bellinger than we've seen. I think he's a really good baseball player. He could defend, he could run. There's obviously, when he squares it up, power there. But if Grisham outplays him, then Grisham outplays him. I'm not ready to do the Cody Bellinger to the side, though. I think that their positional group has been terrific, and I think Bellinger has been a part of it without being as much as you hope. Because I do think the athleticism, defense, versatility, all that plays and has value. He has not, there is another value above that. And if he kind of like gets there, a 750 OPS guy who hits 25 with 15 steals, man, again, it just takes the offense to a different level. And I don't think it's beyond his skill set for that still to happen this year.
No, I mean, look, Joel, they faced a very tough one of the best right-handers in baseball in Dylan Cease last week. And they were struggling against them early. And Bellinger, to his credit, homered in that game, but Grisham had the pinch hit home run as well. They got some, it's a good problem to have, right? The Dominguez 3-homer game is a good problem to have. As you said, there's a full season to play out. It's so refreshing to see the way Bellinger has given you incredible defense. He's made some game-saving plays on defense already for them. And if Jasson can continue to prosper and get more at-bats and look more comfortable from the right side of the plate, you have a very good baseball player there that could be your fourth outfielder if Trent Grisham continues to give you what he's giving you, which is outstanding defense and an incredible bat right now for this lineup.
Yeah, and I think we are seeing this. Let's give Aaron Boone and his coaching staff credit, which is they're playing the 13 players. And we do see at the end of their games, when they have a lead and they could get Dominguez off the field and you do Bellinger, Grisham, Judge, it's like having 3 center fielders in the outfield. Back in right field, Judge is a Gold Glove caliber player. Bellinger is really a good athletic defender. And Grisham, when engaged, is a really good center fielder. So their outfield defense, this is as good an outfield defense as they've played in a long time,
Yes.
across the board. And you use what the tools you have. And that's why I keep going back to that 13-man unit. Is I do think that Boone has showed I am pinch hitting third base late in a close game. I'm going to play offense there when I need to. Well, that at bat completely changes if it's Stanton and Rice.
I know.
Like, who's ever available that day to hit in that situation changes the dynamic. That's why it's like the last thing a Yankee fan should worry about is he has too many toys to play with. He'll use all the toys to the advantage. Because again, consider it's a close game, and Stanton's the DH, and it's the seventh inning, and Stanton doubles. In the past, he couldn't take Stanton out of the game for a pinch runner because who's going to hit next? Who's going to be gone? But now you could put in your Peraza to run, and Rice will take the at bat in the ninth inning. So there's all this stuff that gets there when you have a better group of players. And a weakness so far has been the back end depth. And I still give them credit. Like, he's tried to play that back end depth. When he's had the lefty pitcher, he's gone to Reyes. He's defended where he could defend. I think they've done, the manager and the coaching staff have done a good job of using what it is. And that group might be about to get better.
Yeah. Well, listen, Joel, this has been mostly about the offense and the lineup, and I could keep talking to you the entire episode about it. I feel like we should highlight a little bit about the bullpen. You had the Devin Williams game, that same game against the Padres. You saw the emotion from him in extra innings. So we had that, and then we had the Fernando Cruz against Saturday against the A's. He has his one blip on the radar, I would say, of a really, really good start to the year. What did you make of both of their, appearances from this past week?
Yeah, I try not to. I think every relief pitcher, Luke Weaver had a bad one in here someplace along the way. Everyone has some bad. The good, again, it's like the consistent relievers. Consistent, healthy relievers are about the rarest thing in the sport. The guys who year after year perform at a high level. And those guys are probably good in 8 out of 10 games, which means every 3 weeks or so, you're going to get a really bad one. It just is. But you notice it, right? Like, if a starting pitcher pitches 7 innings and gives up 2 runs in one of those innings, and the other 6 are shutout, you're like, that's a great game. If a reliever throws 7 games and gives up 2 runs in one of the 7 games, you go, oh, that was horrible. But you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Is that's the reality. And I always say they're the air traffic controllers of the sport, which is, did the plane land or did it crash? There's almost nothing in between with relief pitching. I still think Devin Williams is an issue.
Okay.
I don't, and it feels like it's in there now. Like, I don't know, like, if he ran off a month or 6 weeks or 2 months straight, and there was suddenly a big game in September and he was out there, every Yankee fan is sitting there going, not this guy, right? I don't know how he's going to get over this. I don't.
So but, you didn't think that last week's appearance against the Padres in the 10th inning, that wasn't like a confidence booster for you would say for him?
Except for that, like, he also walked and hit a guy in that inning, right? Like, he faced 5 guys. They had a 400 on base percentage against him in the inning, right? It's like, yeah, he struck out 3. He's got great stuff. And if you told me he turned it on for them or he turned it on someplace else, I wouldn't be surprised. He hasn't been good the past 4 years or 5 years. He's been brilliant in the sport. So, like, there's clearly stuff in there. I just think that I actually think they might end up needing to trade for a reliever before it's all said and done also. Who knows? We'll see.
Even with Scott Efros making his first appearance,
But Scott Efros has been the younger version of LeMahieu. He just can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
His track record is not a long one of success, even when he was healthy. Like, he had a year, and he got traded to the Yankees. So he had 2/3 of a year, got traded to the Yankees, and got hurt. And he hasn't pitch for a long time. So
No.
they're, you're going to have that thing again where he's going to have to get some feel out on the mound, and they're going to have to kind of test drive him into it. Better to have options. Like at some point, they'll have Jake Cousins again,
And
who
Loizaga back too.
Loizaga, but even Loizaga will have not pitched in a year. And there's going to be, and I am a huge Loizaga guy. And I think he'll help them if he is that version of himself. Um, but yeah, I look, they've built some depth in every area except for the one that could kill them,
No, I know, but I
which
do
is starting pitching,
starting
obviously.
pitching. Yeah, I mean their relief, their bullpen has still been outstanding. Besides
Yeah.
the Devin Williams blips, Fernando Cruz has been filthy. That I mean, he throws like I know they call it a splitter. It looks like a knuckleball the way it comes out of his hand.
I will say this about the Fernando Cruz thing, and I want to say, I somehow saw this is literally the only innings I saw on Saturday and Sunday. Was should Dominguez have caught the ball in front of him on Cruz? Should Grisham? That's a tough play for Grisham.
It's he ran in first. He had the wrong read,
Yes.
and it's a minor
Right.
league ballpark. It's
Yes.
different.
But like that also could have been a 1-2-3 inning with a couple of catches, and we're not having that discussion. And
Right.
then that's kind of a stirring Yankee win, right? Where they had come from pretty far back to and maybe they have a sweep, etc. Again, the game that is the one you got to deal with. But like there was a way for Cruz to get out of that inning. I when the ball went up to Dominguez, that's like a Dominguez issue. I'm like, that's an out off of television. I'm not there. Maybe that was a single against every left fielder. That felt like an out off the bat
Okay.
to me.
I wouldn't kill him for it. I mean,
I wouldn't kill him. I'm
yeah,
not killing him. That's
yeah.
why I didn't bring it up. I'm bringing it up back end here to say like he was kind of like close to getting out of that inning. Which the Grisham one would have been an outstanding play,
Yes.
but we've seen Grisham make outstanding plays out there. So yeah, I think their bullpen is a strength. I'm curious what they get out of Matzik, if anything, as time goes along, because he was really a fearless reliever with Atlanta. But is that guy gone? Like, is the talent gone, not the fearlessness gone?
It's been curious how they've used Matzik though. They've using him a lot of like blowout games, like
Yes,
give him like an inning or two.
but I think that leads to what I'm talking about with Efros and Loizaga, which is you're trying for some soft landings on the way. And Matzik hasn't pitched a lot in the last couple of years. So you're trying to get him into, hey, can I get him into a couple of blowouts, get him into a rhythm where now I could use him in the 3-2 game, one way or the other, and begin to really find out about the guy. And by the way, they're going to have this relief issue. If they get fully healthy, they're going to have the blessing you want. Too many for too few spots. And I think this has been a theme we've talked about a few times also, Ryan, which is I think they always have to keep some guys who could give them more than 3 outs.
Yeah.
Because the Warren, Yarborough, whatever combination that is, Schmidt on the wrong day, is going to need length. Rodon and Fried have been so valuable.
Incredible.
For giving them length. What Rodon did the other day, he gave up the 3-run homer. And I think some other versions of Carlos Rodon get mentally knocked out by that 3-run homer. And instead, when the ball's taken from him, the Yankees could win the game. He allowed the Yankees to get back into that game by sticking around for 18 outs, which was like on a day where he gave up 4 runs, that was as impressive as any of the 0-run or 1-run games for him this year, because the Yankees need him to be more than just the, hey, when I got my stuff, you got no shot guy. They need him to be the 6-7 inning guy every time.
Feels
him
like
and Free are that their value is not just excellence, it's innings.
it feels like he's maturing. It feels like he's maturing this year, and maybe
I'd like to see more of it.
Yeah.
But like this, the pitching the stuff has been superb. The start in Oakland, if you said, of all of these, which one encouraged you the most? That would be the one.
I thought the same
Because
thing.
instead of being out after he, threw a lot of pitches, he gave up the 3-run homer. Instead of being out of the game in the 3rd or 4th inning, he's handing the ball to the better part of their bullpen, to Cruz, right? To try to win a game now, because he held them there. And to our point, if it's 4 or less, the Yankees are going to be one swing away from being back in a game, right? Like Judge hits a couple of solo homers. It's you're back in the game.
Yeah.
They can get lightning pretty much from at least 8 spots in the lineup, 7, 8 spots in the lineup. So that's why that starting pitching is the front end has to give innings. The back end just has to be 4 runs.
It's
5 innings, 4 runs. That's not a good ERA, by the way.
no.
But you'll be in the game if you do that.
It's funny you say that. The Yankees actually have 4 losses when leading by multiple runs in the 7th inning or later, which is tied for the most with the Red Sox in baseball right now. It's just it's the blips, right? It's those blips that you talk about, and like you said with this lineup, they can be in any game if it's 4 runs or less. Joel, I want to wrap this all up for Joel's notebook here before I let you go. The Yankees play Seattle this week, and then they have the Subway Series. We'll do a Subway Series episode later this week. Seattle. Any good memories there at in Seattle? I know you may have covered Ichiro there a couple times. Is there anything fun stories you got out there for us?
Yeah, I'll tell you one, and you didn't prep me for this. Otherwise, I would have looked up the date of it to know it exactly. There was a Sunday game. I love Seattle. I love Seattle. One of my favorite cities to visit. It's just too far away, so I don't end up there a lot. And there was a time in the early 2000s, Yankee Seattle was a real thing. Rivalry, big games played between the teams, late 90s, early 2000s. Fans are going to look up the date, so I don't want to be wrong. I'll just say it was a Sunday night, which means a 5 o'clock start out there. And I don't want to give free publicity in case the place is open, but there was a restaurant there that I loved. And I'm like, okay, can we get to the restaurant even with a 5 o'clock start? Because remember, West Coast start or tighter deadlines. Can I just write quick? Can we get there before the place closes? And the game is being played relatively quickly. I'm going to guess this is like 1992, 93, someplace in that area, early 90s. And the game, if I remember, I wish I could have had time to look it up. It feels like the game got tied in like the bottom of the 9th, the bottom of the 11th, the bottom of the 13th. I think the Yankees scored a couple of runs in the top of the 15th inning. And again, I'm testing my memory here. A guy named Greg Briley, if you have time to look it up, Briley, I think is it. I think a left-hand hitter for the Mariners. I think he hits a walk-off 3-run homer to beat them. And of course, the game lasted like 5.5. Like the idea of going to dinner late in Seattle went out the window. Like one of the nice little perks of, it's a Sunday night game, but it's a Sunday night game that starts at 5. Maybe you could do the 10 o'clock dinner someplace. Did you find it?
I found Greg Briley. I'm trying to find the game that you said, if it was possibly 92, 93.
Like, I'd say someplace in there.
And he hit a walk-off home run?
Again, we're testing this is over 30 years ago now. This whole thing might just be like a fever dream for me.
Let's see. Greg Briley versus the Yankees. He didn't play them in 93. I'm going to look at 92. It has to be 92 then. Because he only played in 5 years here. 92 versus the Yankees. Yeah, all right. Home against the Yankees.
Would have been in Seattle, though. I'm pretty sure it was Seattle.
He had a home run. It was May 4th, 1992. Yankees lost 7-5.
Was it an extra inning game? Was it a 15-inning game?
Yes. Yes. There it is.
And he hit the walk-off, right?
He hit the walk-off, yeah.
Right? And did the Yankees score? Like it felt like that game kept getting, oh, we're close to being over. Oh, it's like again, I'm testing my memory from over 30 years ago. But yeah.
That's funny.
I wouldn't have thought of Greg Briley if you didn't ask me.
Greg Briley. That's a name pull right there. And for all you fans out there, we playing what's the game with on baseball? Sports Grid. Well, I can't think of the name of it. Yeah. Grid. Immaculate Grid.
Clemens' game in Seattle, I think he threw like a one-hitter in the ALCS. A year the Yankees beat him. That was, I think, in Seattle. I love that ballpark. That's a beautiful ballpark.
It is a nice ballpark. I actually been there as a kid too. All right, so I was wrong. It was not. It was 90. It was 90. It was May 5th, 1991. Went to 16 innings. The
16 innings.
the Yankees. So the Mariners score in the bottom of the seventh to make it. Looks like 2-2. No score in the eighth, ninth, 10th, or the 11th. The 12th inning, the Yankees score. The Mariners tie it up. 13th, no score. 14th, no score. 15th, no run scored. 16th inning, the Yankees score a run to take the lead 4-3. But then Briley comes up in the bottom of the 16th for the walk-off 2-run home run against the Yankees to win.
1991, walk-off homer for Briley, so it probably would have been against, like, it has who the pitcher was, right?
Yeah.
Don't say it. Like someone like John Habian or something like that?
You're one off. Rich Montalone.
No, Rich Monteleone.
Monteleone. Sorry, Rich Monteleone.
Yeah, so right-hander, not great guy. Great guy.
Okay.
Average major leaguer, but a great guy. Like the Yankees were not very good back then. Just for all your fans who like bitch about what's going on now, like let me just tell you how horseshit the Yankees were in the early 90s. And was Habian the guy in before that?
Habian was in the guy before that. Dave Island was the starter that game.
Dave Island, pitching coach for both the Yankees and Mets.
Man, Jim Lieritz, Alfaro Espinoza.
Yeah.
This is fun looking at Kevin Moss. We should do this, Joel.
Yeah.
Let's go back to a random game and see if Joel can remember what that game was.
Maybe Moss. Did Moss hit one of the homers to put him ahead?
Let me look. Kevin Moss.
This is really good podcasting. I'm sure
I know. He did. He had his 4th home run of the season in the 16th inning. He hit the go-ahead home run in the 16th inning.
That's what I mean is I think, like, so, you get committed, you start writing about, Moss, maybe he's, like, found this stroke, and then all of a sudden Briley hits it, and I'm watching my dinner go down the drain.
Man, that's a long game.
At that time, it was my favorite restaurant in America, was in that town. Like, I loved going there at least once every trip we went in there, and we were in there twice a year, so...
game time was 5 hours and 31 minutes, Joel.
Right. So we the game we don't even begin to go down to the clubhouse until after 10:30.
Unreal.
Night.
Joel,
Yeah.
You're the man.
My dad was a truck driver. I keep it all in perspective. That was a bad night for me. I watched a long baseball game.
Hey, you missed the dinner, but I'm sure you got to eat there plenty of other times after that.
Yes.
Joel, you're the man as always. Let's do this again Thursday, yeah? Let's do some Subway Series preview action.
Let's do it before the two New York teams, the two first-place New York teams.
I'll be there Friday night, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you can be there.
Great.
There you go. Joel, thank you as always for giving us your time, man, and we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next time, all right?
All right. All the best, Ryan. Everyone, thanks for watching.